Okay, we are live. I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70 to amend Procedural Bylaw 2018-117 pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. And we will move to the adoption of the agenda for Monday, March the 8th, 2021. The recommendation is that the council meet in committee agenda for Monday, March 8th, 2021 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest today? Okay,
None here.
No, I'm seeing none. Then our next item is a delegation. We have Karen Filipkowski and Francis Mawson of the Madawaska Valley Public Library to present their 2021 library budget. Good morning, ladies. Welcome to our budget meeting on International Women's Day.
Yes.
Good morning.
Please go ahead.
So our presentation is fairly brief. I believe everybody has a copy of the budget. I did put notes in budget lines to explain some of our carry forwards and why we're actually not asking for an increase this year. So I don't know if you want me to go through this line by line or if you've had a chance to do that, if the numbers make sense. What I would like to say while you're thinking about that is it has been a different year for everybody and us included. So we did our best to continue to provide services during closures, during restrictions. And we think we did a pretty good job with the staff we had and what was available. And we're continuing to do that into 2021. So I was looking at some of our programs that we had in 2020 and where we are now. So during 2020, with a lot of the closures, we had some online programs for children. We had craft kits that were so popular. We distributed 1,300 craft kits in 2020. So they were very, very popular. We had reading materials that were being distributed as best we could. There were pickup times. There was a little bit of browsing time here and there. And we're doing that again in 2021 because we just continue with the situation that we're in. So from January to February of this year, I was looking at the statistics, and staff have pulled close to 700 items off the shelves, checked them out to patrons, wrap them up, contact the patron, and they get picked up because we've been shut down since December. So that's a lot of work. We're managing the phone, email, and our online reserve program. We've informally started dropping off and picking up books at what was the Water Tower Lodge and is now Champlain Gardens. So it's been fairly easy to do because they're so close to us. And our online services, we've increased those a little bit. We're now subscribing to a DVD service because people haven't been able to get in, or even it's a little trickier to select them. But our online books, ebooks, audiobooks, in January, February, 757 of those were checked out. So we're still pretty relevant and ticking along as best we can. But again, back to the budget line, we had a little bit of help with various grants that were unexpected. So it meant that we could carry forward some budget lines and keep the budget to what we had last year. So I think that's all I have to say about it. But if there's any questions, myself and Francis are here to answer.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I certainly like to commend you for creativity and flexibility over the past year, because it has been a situation where none of us knew from day to day what was going to happen next, and to come up with ways to continue to provide the service, the library services, as best as humanly possible in these very difficult times is should be recognized as an excellent job that you guys have been doing to continue to serve our public, especially in a time when so many people are stuck at home, and having the availability of reading material, or as you said, even DVDs and things like that, is helpful to get us all through a very long stretch, as it has turned out to be. So I really appreciate everything you have been doing, and the creativity in how will we provide a service but still keep everyone safe, and great job. Thank you. Are there any, Councillor Wilmer, did you want to speak to that?
Sorry, I just wanted to say I think the library budget is very well done and very responsible. And I'd like to again congratulate Karen and staff for, I guess the word these days is pivot, but changing the way the library operated this year, and providing a service in a time where perhaps it's needed more than ever by some people. So I think staff have done a great job, and Francis, you and your board have done a great job in administering and supporting and working with library staff. So I appreciate the work by all, and I think your budget is excellent given the time. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, does council have any questions on the library budget? Councillor Poplinski. You're on mute.
How's that?
That's better.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to second what Councillor Wilmer said. I think you've done an excellent job under very trying times, and that's just the world that we live in today. I guess my only question is, there were some issues in the past with perhaps some issues regarding, excuse me, security and other needs at the library in terms of equipment and so on. I just want to make sure that all of those are being addressed. Thank you. If there's any outstanding that hasn't been done, then I would like to know, and we'll move on with it.
Okay. Yes, so Karen, I do notice that obviously last year you did not use the capital expense line items. You did not get into that. I think a lot of it was work inside the library, or tables, or things that obviously if people weren't coming in you didn't need. But it is in the budget again this year, so I'm hoping as we get vaccinated that you may eventually by the third or fourth quarter be able to open the library. So you may give thought to actually ensuring those expenditures happen this year.
If I could address that.
Yes, please.
The electrical work was done this year, early this year, when we were able to have somebody come in. And I did communicate with Amanda about that, so she's aware of it. So we just transferred it to this year. I think I can send the invoice now, or we can just add it to the work that's going forward, and I can communicate with Amanda about that.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. We just want to make sure that if you have those capital needs and we've budgeted for them, that it is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's a key thing.
2020 did happen. It just happened in early 2021. So.
Okay. And that's fine, because we have the budget in place for it again this year.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I'm not seeing any. Okay, so ladies, I'm going to say thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Keep pivoting on a dime as you need to, because the community appreciates the service that you're providing. And yes, we're all going to hope that eventually you can get back to having the library open and functioning, fully in terms of all the programming that you had before. And yes, what can I say? Again,
we'd just
Francis.
like to thank the council and the municipal employees for their support during this period.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, I think we all have to pull together, and that's what we've figured out. And as I say, really appreciate the creativity and the fact that you have done everything possible to continue to provide services and programming to our community. So thank you very much. We appreciate that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, oh, now I've lost, oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I put my agenda off to the side. I didn't mean to. All right, so our next component is the municipal reports under finance and administration, and I'm basically going to turn it over to our treasurer. Amanda, however you would like to run this, please proceed.
All right, so I will speak to the package that I provided council. I will go through the draft 2021 municipal budget, and the pages may not align with what the digital agenda package references, but we'll go through this slowly and make sure we're all on the same page. So the 2021 draft municipal budget, under this general summary, this budget is being presented to you with an overall 2.1% increase. That's an error. The budget is presented to you with a 2.1% tax increase. The discounted weighted CVA, the growth for 2020 was overall 1.2%. So I've provided you with all the property tax classes and what the destination CVA or current value assessment is for 2021 and what those percentage changes look like for each of the tax classes. So residential is a 1.4 and then overall is 1.2%. So the budget is presented with a general levy increase of 2.1%. Major capital projects are funded through drawdowns on reserves totaling $1,197,382. Total additions to reserves is $874,744. On page 2 of my workbook, I've provided you with the departmental draft budget summarized, the 2020 budget per department, and then the 2021 budget per department and what the variance looks like overall. Although that could be a little confusing because that takes into account our capital costs. So moving on to page 3 of my workbook, the 2021 capital projects by department have been listed. The total of all capital projects proposed for 2021 is $2,499,086. And all of those projects are identified within our capital budget through the departments. So moving on to the general municipal budget summary, which I have identified as page 6 and 7 of my workbook. So within the 2021 year, the budget will be offset by the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, which we will receive this year, a total of $1,624,200. That is an increase of $26,100 from 2020. Gas tax funds is $130,761.58. And the OSIF funding is $177,671. So removing any revenues from the expenditures and less the PIL, OMPF, and any other revenues. The amount required from general taxation is $140,000, $369.44.
Amanda,
Yes.
is it possible for you to share your screen and show us the pages? I'm thinking for the public's sake, because they may not have printed the whole budget.
I can. Okay, let me see. But it's not going to look the same. It's going to be my Excel spreadsheet, but here we go.
Yes, I recognize that it will look different from how it looks when it's printed.
There we go.
Okay, really tiny.
Let
Can
me
we
see, I
make
can
the,
zoom.
yeah, that would be great.
I can reference the page in the package if you tell me the page from your package, Amanda, as well.
So I'm just, is that better? Can you see that better?
Is
On
there
the
any way to make it a
screen?
little bit bigger? Can we
I can.
zoom out?
Goodness.
Let's see what happens. Okay, that is great. We can
Okay.
actually see that.
Okay. So this is what I'm talking about here. So we have our total revenues that we budget for within the year, and that are fees and service charges that we forecast that we will expect. And then total expenditures is $9,036,363. So that offset from the expenditures less the revenues is $5,905,954. Payments in lieu is $141,385. And payments in lieu are payments that we receive from upper tier and ministries for taxes on properties. The Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund is $1,624,200. So less those revenues or incomes from the net expenditures, the amount required from general taxation is $4,140,369.44. So we are working from a base levy of $4,054,880. And this budget is being proposed at 2.1% increase, which is approximately $85,000.
Okay, great. That's really helpful that we can see it. Now, do you want to take questions as we go through the pages?
Sure.
If I may,
Okay.
through the chair, that's on pages 13 and 14 of the agenda package.
Okay, for council's purposes, in the printed package you got, the pages are numbered 6 and 7, I believe. All right, so I mean, I know it's early to be talking about the expenditure side, but if you have any questions about the revenues, and then we'll get into the expenditures, these numbers will obviously change if council makes changes going forward in any of the budgets. So are there any questions at this point about the revenue side? Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And actually the question for the treasurer is that I noticed we budgeted taxation last year of $3,997,247.98, and we actually only collected $2,112,602.96. So is that the difference in the amount of outstanding taxes? Is that what we're talking about here?
No. Let me see here. Oh, are you referencing, I'm sorry, this amount?
Yes, he's referencing what's in the actual column.
Oh, okay. So the actual column from 2020 is subject to change as the audit takes place. So that's not actually what we receive from taxation. It's just what we have recognized on hand from revenues and expenditures throughout the year. So that's not actually what we collected in taxes.
So what does it represent?
The difference of revenues and expenditures that we have received for the year.
I'm bewildered. I don't quite understand that.
We
So-
have, sorry.
Is
go
there
ahead.
anyone else that's got some questions about that? I mean,
So when you look at the actual spreadsheet, that's a calculation that the spreadsheet is making. It's not what was actually taxed. It's just the calculation that's going on in the spreadsheet. I think that's the problem. That wasn't what we actually collected. But the calculation of what we would be proposing to collect in the 2021 budget is the same. It's calculated the same way. So if there was changes in the 2021 actuals, unfortunately, when you look at that section, it's just going to recalculate it automatically. It's not taking into account what was actually taxed for.
well, from what I'm reading, it's telling me that the amount required from taxation, and we budgeted, and then it decided it's the actual what we actually achieved. Is that not what it's telling me?
It can be a little bit confusing because we don't, although we budget for certain projects or certain expenditures within the year, we still have to collect that taxation that we've budgeted for in order to finish or be able to complete those services. So we may have, there could be projects that continue on through into the next year that are recognized within the budget year's financial statements. But within this calculation, that's just where it stands at. It's kind of like a snapshot in time. So we budgeted for $3.9 million in taxation, and that's what we collected.
I think that the challenge is that if you look at those columns, you'll see total expenditures budgeted was over $10 million, but total expenditures actual is 8.8 million. So as the spreadsheet is calculating through these formulas, it's going to change the amount required from taxation. But that simply represents expenditures that we didn't make that were up to the same level as what we budgeted for. And that could be matters where things were, not drawn from reserves, but this number doesn't accurately reflect what we taxed for.
But if I may, somewhere there's got to be a number as to exactly what we collected in taxation last year. And where can I find that number?
So Amanda, is that the 4 million, 54,880? Is that number?
We budgeted for yes, our base levy is 4,054,880. So that's what we would have received.
What is the number again?
$4,054,880.
Okay, thank you.
That would be the amount we billed for, and then there were
with the growth.
Yes, so there are unpaid taxes though, but that's what we actually billed for, correct?
But I'm really interested in knowing what we collected. I think that's very relevant to what we're doing here, and I think that's a number that we should have.
I think that's a number we do have on the arrears report. Is that not right, Amanda?
When we set the budget, we create a tax rate based on the amount that we require from general taxation. So
Yes.
we put that tax rate in, and that's what we collect. But because there was 1.2% growth overall, we would have collected 4,054,880, or billed or collected. We bill it, I say collected, but we recognize that not everybody pays their taxes within the year. We do have outstanding or arrears. So this is what we work with. This is the number that we work with, the $4,054,880.
Okay.
So if I may, Madam
Mhm.
Mayor, just another question is, so somewhere in the report, there is an amount stated, which is the amount of unpaid taxes, is there not?
Yes. There's a property tax arrears update, municipal report.
Okay, thank you.
That was in your package. Are there any other questions on the revenues at this point in time? I'm not seeing any. Amanda, did you want to continue then?
Sure. So let me just zoom here. Okay. I did just want to bring your attention to one part of the revenues that you would have on your sheet. It's in yellow, and I highlighted that because these are the amounts for Pog Lake Road that we would have billed to the province to receive our money back. Although we've billed it, we haven't actually received these amounts. We have not actually received $1.9 million. We've only received $980,000. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so let me just ask, are there any questions on the breakout pages, which are 9 and 10 in the printed package? And Sue, do you know what pages they are in the agenda? These are the revenue pages.
Apologies, I was muted. Page 16 and page 17 are the
Okay.
2021 revenues, and that's your
Okay.
package of page 75.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions on the breakouts of the revenues that are expected? Okay, I'm not seeing any. All right, so we'll continue then into general administration. Oh, 17. Oh, wait, there's one more there. I missed 11. Where's general? Here we go. Okay, page 13 in the printed package. And Sue, what page is general admin on the published agenda?
Page 20.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go to that. Amanda.
All right. So within the general admin budget, I will just bring to your attention. We have budgeted again $8,000 for computers, which is kind of like a rolling stock. We have everybody on like a cycle. They get their computers replaced every 5 to 6 years. We have $11,000 in the community safety and well-being plan to continue for 2021. The capital expenditures are proposed at $93,132. And that includes $10,000 for asset management, which is a 5-year payment plan. $20,000 for office redesign and construction. So that the $20,000 will be for construction only. 31,520 for building condition assessments throughout the municipality, which is an FCM grant. And the balance of our financial software moving into 2021, $31,612. I also wanted to bring to your attention within administration salaries. I have provided you with a business case staffing report. A proposal, I am requesting a transition from the part-time payroll clerk position to a full-time permanent payroll office clerk, with the official title and job description to be presented and approved at a later time if council so approves this request. This is a non-union position. In 2019, council approved the hiring of a part-time payroll clerk to cross-train and assist with payroll, HR-related issues associated with payroll, and also to provide some extra support with monthly and year-end reporting. Unfortunately, due to COVID, there was an employee on sick leave. This position has been vacant for almost a 1-year period. The addition of this position ensured there was at least 2 individuals in the office that understand the process and could complete payroll and reporting. Not having anyone in this position added extra administrative hours to the treasurer and leaves the municipality vulnerable to not having anyone else trained on payroll. During staffing reviews, it was identified that the implementation of our new financial system, the need to have someone trained on payroll, and the need for administrative assistance throughout all departments, and it is recommended that a full-time position be budgeted for. Further, the Deputy Treasurer Tax Administrator has expressed the desire to have the junior accounting clerk immediately begin training for taxes and water billing upon her return from personal leave in September, as the Deputy Treasurer is preparing for future retirement. Council has also expressed that they recognize the need for staffing within the office to assist with the operations department and the management of the capital assets reporting. The finance department has invested in training a contract employee to cover the junior accounting clerk position while on leave, and believe this investment in training could well be transitioned into this new position. Beginning in 2019, we have hired on summer administrative support through Summer Jobs Canada. However, the knowledge of the summer student is limited with financial and administrative experience. The general government salary budget is presented with additional funds for this transition beginning in September of 2021 with $10,396 in the final quarter of 2021. So that is my report. With the increase in work in one department, the work sort of spreads out to all the departments. So we have increased calls on the front, general questions about all departments, increases in ownership changes, mortgage changes, utility billing questions, tax billing questions, file searches. There are increases in billings for environmental services, bylaw enforcement, building, public works. If one department sees an increase in a burden on administrative, all departments, it sort of touches on all of the departments, and we're noticing a need for extra support. So I will pass it over to council if you have any questions to proceed.
Okay, so Amanda, maybe what we'll do is we'll start by asking if there's any questions on the general administration operating budget, which is page 13 printed and page 20 for online. Does anyone have any questions on the operating budget? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Okay, how about on the capital budget for general administration, page 14 printed, 21 online? Okay, no questions about that either that I can see. Are there any questions for Amanda about the business case she's presented? Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. I'm just wondering, we're talking about hiring full-time and budgeting for full-time employees. And I'm not disputing that. I think that's an area that we probably need to be going. I'm just wondering, though, as we're still waiting to have this service review and internal review of our operation, I'm just wondering if that's something that we could expedite and before we go ahead and decide to fill certain holes when maybe something else will be uncovered during that review. So that's why I bring this up, because I'm just wondering about the timing of it.
Okay. I don't know. Amanda, did you want to speak to the timing of it?
I see the CAO has her hand up.
Okay, sorry. Everybody's in really small squares today. Sue.
Apologies. Yes, to Councillor Poplinski's question, that was something that was taken into consideration because we agree the service delivery review for organizational review has been will be prioritized, and that is why in the business plan it references the final quarter of 2021. So we would hope that by then that review would have been completed way before that.
Okay, so at this point we have budgeted a fairly modest amount for this to actually occur in the final quarter, but if the service delivery review turns up, produces some different result, then we can address that.
Correct.
At that point. So it isn't actually going to happen until the final quarter if it is something that also is basically recommended by the service delivery review.
Correct.
Councillor Poplinski?
Yes, if I could just make reference to the assistant that requires with the expectation that there could be a retirement coming up in the next little while. I think that's a position that we need to probably act upon and fill whatever void needs to be done in terms of training or whatever, because that could happen. And so I don't think we should put that off. I think we should proceed with that.
If I may, yes.
Yes, Sue.
Yes, and that is why the review happened and the recommendation from the treasurer, because there is a plan in play for that succession plan for the deputy treasurer, and it is expediting that as soon as the individual on leave returns early fall. But we agree that is important to start that transition immediately.
Okay, so the soonest that can begin to occur is early fall, which is also why this proposal for, okay, what is the name of it? Payroll clerk. Sorry, I was just looking to make sure I had the right name of the position for payroll clerk is coming in the fall as well. And in the meantime, we will be proceeding hopefully with the service delivery review. That is priority for council. So if it turns up something different in terms of a result, we'll be able to discuss that and determine how we would implement that going forward. Okay, but we have a plan in place at the moment that hopefully will resolve those issues. Any other questions on the business case? Don't see any. Everybody's going to have to bear with me today because you are really small little boxes. Okay, so I don't see any at this point, Amanda. So why don't we proceed to the next page, which is page 15 for council, page 22 for the public, protection of persons and property.
So this is our policing costs for the year. So it is lower than previous, $919,816. But as the Police Services Board goes into labor negotiations, I believe next year, we will potentially see the costs increase in 2022.
Oh, okay. Sue just told me this is page 24 on the public agenda. So the public agenda, you're going to have to tell me what page then. I'm trying to mark them as I go, but there's obviously more pages in the public agenda. Are there blank pages, Sue? Is that why I'm
Yes, there might be, yes. I'm just
okay?
looking at the actual public agenda.
Okay, that's helpful then. Okay, so I'm going to assume every time I switch a page, are there two? Okay, maybe I'll just ask you to tell me what page on the public agenda it is, because this is, I can't possibly bring that up as well as everything else. Okay, are there any questions on the protection to persons and property, basically the policing budget? Councillor Poplinski?
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. And my question actually, and to whoever can answer this, and with the expectation of new formation of a police management board in each jurisdiction, and what we've heard was that somewhere time in March we're supposed to be receiving more information, but from what I've been told, these boards are going to, it's going to, it may work well. However, there's going to be a substantial cost attributed to this, and I'm just wondering whether we're getting any heads up or any notices on what to expect, because it looks like we're going to be bringing people in from outside to be on our own police boards. It's quite involved. I was quite shocked actually when I saw the scope of it. But my question at the time was, who's going to pay for this? And I was told it would be the same people that pay for the policing costs, which is our taxpayers. So I'm just wondering, do we have anything on that?
I have
Okay,
not received anything. I'm not sure if the CAO has received anything.
Sue?
No, we have not received anything, Councillor Poplinski.
Okay. So
Okay.
at this time, we just plain don't know. I'm not sure why we'd need to bring people in from outside to be on the police board. I thought that we were supposed to have a seat on the police board, and I would anticipate that council remuneration would cover that, and there may be some mileage. But so, did you hear something different at the Roma conference?
No, it's there's been I think it's quite an extensive report, and I don't know who all has read it, but there's certain people with certain skill sets and perhaps various other people that they want to see represented on these boards. And if we don't have them in our community, then it was suggested that we'll have to bring them in, and there will be a cost. There will be a cost. The people serving on this board will be compensated. And as I said, I don't want to, where it looks like a lot of these things are coming out and by drips and drabs, and we don't really fully the full financial impact. And that's why I bring it up, because there was a lot of loose ends when this was being discussed, and I obviously don't have any more information than you have, and we have to proceed just in the dark, I guess, and look only at the costs at hand, which of course are fairly substantial, but that's not going to go away. But if there is a cost with the police boards, I just want to caution council that we'd be looking at, from what I was told, picking up the costs.
So if you have a report on that, if you've received something through CPAC, or could you please share that with Sue so it can be shared with council?
If I may, Mayor
Yes.
Love, it was in my package back a month or two ago, and obviously other council members would have seen it as well.
Okay, I'm not recalling it off the top of my head, but then I do read an awful lot.
I don't get any special privileges when it comes to
Okay.
information, so.
Okay, maybe if you could just identify to staff which piece of documentation that is after the meeting, and then council can review it. Because honestly, I can tell you I don't recall it, but please identify so we can review it again. I'd like to be up to speed on that. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions on policing? Amanda?
So I'll just say, for the purposes of this year's budget, the police services, they do provide us what our expectation of policing costs will be for the year. So to Councillor Poplinski's comments, if there are increases, we will likely see it in future budgets. as they have already set theirs for the year for municipalities. So thank you for that.
Okay. All right, if there's no further comments on this one, which we don't have a great deal of ability to affect, we'll move on to fire department, the operating budget. And I believe is that page 26, Sue? For the public?
It is starts at page 25.
I'm giving up. I'm just going to ask you. I can't win. Sometimes there's an extra page, sometimes there isn't. Okay, it starts on page 25 for the public, and it's pages 16 and 17 for council. And Amanda, take it away.
So I don't think there are many changes. We tried within the budgets of all the departments to stay within line of the 2020 budget. One change was, of course, the convention and seminar training costs. We decreased that to 0. And we added within the vehicle expense line, as Mr. Quad has identified that there will be some extra expenditures with some units. There has been some note with fire remunerations for the volunteer fire services that they are receiving increases in calls. So although the budget for 2021 is the same as 2020, looking at the 2020 actual to what we were budgeting, it's a 3% increase, and we believe that's a fair increase for the volunteer fire services to provide their services for our community. Fireman's expense, we're trying to keep it within the $15,000 range, and I think we're doing a good job there. And the capital expenditures for fire is $426,300, which involves bunker suits and a new pumper vehicle, and also a generator for the fire hall. So if council has any questions on the operating, and then I'll switch over to the capital sheet.
Okay, so let's start with operating. Does anyone have any questions on the operating budget for the fire department? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Okay, tell me if I'm missing a hand. I don't see any. So are there any questions on the capital budget for the fire department? Okay, again, I'm not seeing any. Okay, so I guess there aren't any questions on that budget, Amanda, at this point in time.
All right.
Then we can move to the next one.
All right, so the next one is the building inspection services budget for 2021. Okay. The salaries seems to be in line, just to increase a few percentages. Not really a lot of expenditures within the building inspection services budget. There was an increase for materials and supplies. There was a requirement for some additional books. So if council has any questions on the operating.
Okay, I'm just looking. It's page 27 online and page 18, I believe. I think I'm interpreting the note correctly. Okay, page 18 for council. Are there any questions on the building inspection budget? Okay, so when we get into transportation, there is, sorry, I'm going to cough 1 second. Okay, that's better, got that out. There is a proposal for a capital expenditure that is for the building inspection services. So we may wish to, when we get to that discussion, to actually put that under building inspection services as a capital expenditure, or if council does not want to make that expenditure this year, to actually look at putting some money in reserves towards making the expenditure next year. I guess, Amanda, will we wait until we get to capital equipment under transportation to have that discussion? Is that what you'd like to do?
I think because it's within those pages and I've identified them within those pages, just for the transparency of the public, I think it would be a good idea to continue on the way it was set up.
Okay, all right. But we may decide, due to the fact that building inspection is revenue neutral, to ensure that this additional cost is identified in this budget.
Correct.
Going forward, to ensure that we're then, our fees and our expenses are balancing out in building inspection. So just be aware, council, we may be coming back to moving something into this budget that doesn't exist right now, but we'll discuss it under transportation. Any other questions or about building inspection services? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I guess we will move to septic inspection services, which is page 19 of council's printed package. And Sue, anybody's guess what page number? Page 28. Thank you. Page 28 of the public's document.
So again, not a lot of expenditures related to the septic inspection services budget. It is a split off of the building department budget, where the building inspector does septic inspections as well, as required. There are no convention, seminar, training costs this year. And materials and supplies, we've increased it by $100 over the 2020 actuals, because again, there were some there were increase in printing costs and some additional books as well that were required as the building department things change. We have to update some pages and packages within the building and the septic budgets. So if there are any questions from council on the operating of the septic inspection services budget.
Okay, any questions from councils on septic inspection? Again, I'm not seeing any. I guess we can proceed then to bylaw enforcement, which is, I thought I saw it, 29 on the public's agenda and page 20 on council's.
So bylaw enforcement, budgeted 5,000 in 2020. Actual is 2,561 for 2020. 2021 budget remains the same as the 2020 budget. I believe in 2019 there were some increased calls for fire. I think it was a dry year in 2019, and so there were a lot of fire calls. 2020, we know that it was a significantly different year than we've all ever experienced, and therefore we didn't have the amount of calls that we had previously. We do foresee that the summer of 2021 will be different than 2020, and therefore we left the salaries line the same as 2020. So if there are any questions with regards to the bylaw enforcement services budget.
Okay, any questions from council on bylaw enforcement? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I guess we will move into animal control, which I'm hoping is page 30. Will be my guess. It's page 30 on the public's agenda and page 21 on council's.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
Okay, animal control services. There's not, again, a lot of expenditures related to it. I did add this line, livestock damage, and we budgeted $600. We have seen some expenditures this year and last year already with regards to livestock damage, which we must assist in covering those costs. So if you see down here, $3,011 was put in the 2020 actual. That's the $280 for veterinary unit costs. And then the offset is the livestock damage that was experienced in 2020. And if there are any questions on the animal control services budget?
Yes, okay, Councillor Poplinsky.
Yes, thanks through you, Mayor Love. Some time ago, we dealt with a report from the fire chief, who is also the animal control officer, and there was a lot of discussion about engaging perhaps other services with other municipalities, or having that as perhaps a standalone position. I'm just wondering, is there anything that we should be considering dealing with that moving forward?
Okay, I do believe at the time council decided that there was an employee within the municipality who could provide the service alternatively when the animal control officer isn't available, but I will refer to Sue to corroborate that. Sue.
Yes, if I recall, council was had asked that we not go out to seek contract position. We did give authority to the bylaw enforcement officer and fire chief that when he is not available, to ensure there is a staff on call that would be responding to those. So that would be within the hours and the same rate of pay that the individuals are being paid. So the dollars that would have went towards animal control for the fire chief would have been used for the employee, but the employee who is presently a part-time employee would just be doing that task that day. And I think we were going to track that to see the hours.
Okay.
It's my understanding from after that report from talking to bylaw that it's not that it's that many hours. It's more so him ensuring that there is flexibility and availability of someone else when he can't attend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions on animal control? And I'm not seeing any, so we'll move on to roadway services, page 22 of council's printed package. And Sue, what page for the public?
Starts on page 31 and 32 for the roadway services budgets. And then the vehicles portion is from pages 33 to 35. So if they refer to page 31 of the public agenda, and it's their page 22 in their printed package from the treasurer.
Okay, I'm just writing that down. So when we get back, if we come back to these pages, I'll know what page to tell the public. Okay, so Amanda, take it away.
So if you look at the roadway salaries for 2020 versus the actual, they're significantly lower than what was budgeted. We did keep 2021 budget closer in line with the 2020 budgeted numbers. What happened was there was an employee that that retired from Public Works Department. And then that position was not filled until the beginning of 2021. And that is that offset from the budget versus actual for 2020. So that's the difference there, okay. Crossing guard expense, the budget is $73.60 in 2020, and then the actual is $12.6. But there is an offsetting revenue line because that expenditure is shared with the school board. Are there any questions with regards to those things before I move into the detail of the materials and supplies? Any questions on salaries?
Yes, Councillor Poplinsky.
Actually, my question, I thought it was we're dealing with the whole page. Or you're only asking about questions about salaries?
Yeah, about the labor expenses.
Well, then I'll wait till we go down the report.
Okay.
Okay. Just to note for council, one of the reasons that Amanda and I discussed the salaries line item in roads, and we're not as concerned with it being close to what we anticipate being the actual, because we do have a winter maintenance working fund that has $52,000 in it. So if we were to have a year, a winter that required more salaries, we do have a fund to draw from, but we wanted to try to keep the budget as close as possible to what we expect salaries will be in an average year. So the reason we have that reserve is to allow for if we do have a bad year, but I just want to reassure council that we had that discussion and we think this is the best way to go forward, keeping it close to what we anticipate, knowing that we have a cushion in a reserve should we have a bad winter. Hopefully not this year, but coming into the fall of this year. So that was just some information I wanted to make sure you were aware of. Okay, so I don't see any other questions on salaries. So Amanda, if you wanted to just continue down the page.
Certainly. So we have reduced the legal costs from 2020 to 2021 because we believe that some of those items have been dealt with, the legal items have been dealt with, and we'll be moving more into the survey costs. So we have increased survey costs for 2021. We tried to keep things as close to what we possibly could for 2021 based on our 2020 budget again. The cost of salt has increased. It had increased in 2020. And that's why you see a higher expenditure. We also have, where are we here? Ditching costs, we increased it slightly just for the additional work that we will be doing in construction. And the private roads grant was previously approved from council as well, so we just put that line in there. And no significant changes in Yard 1 or Yard 2 expenses, other than the water and wastewater for Yard 1 is much higher this year. There was a situation where we had to run the water a little bit, and so that added to the increased costs. Does council wish to speak about or ask any questions with regards to the materials and supplies budget lines?
Okay, so the maintenance expense, the rest of this page, any questions on the rest of this page? Councillor Poplinski.
Yeah, in the past, prior to sitting down and dealing with the budgets, we've always had a report from our operations department giving us a breakdown of the amount of ditching and brushing and shoulder building and all that in the past. We've had a very good read and then to be able to continue the program. And I'm just wondering, we haven't seen that report, and I'm just wondering if that is something that could be made available. I want to make sure that we've got, with all of the flooding and we've had in the recent years, I want to make sure that we've got adequate supply of gravel and that we are doing the ditching and all the things that we say we're doing. So I'm just wondering if I would like to see that report. I think it gives us the confidence moving forward and knowing that we're putting the money in the right place. And it is so important because we've got areas, we have roads where there's very lack of shoulders, which causing great safety issues. And we talk about our liability on roads and so on. And I'm just wondering that having a report like that in a discussion with our roads department is very beneficial. So before I would want to okay this particular aspect of the budget, I would like to see that information.
Sue.
Yes, no, so noted. I will speak to Hillary to ensure we bring something forward.
I'm going to ask, is Hillary available? Maybe he could just speak briefly to that before bringing a report as well. Is he available? I obviously can't see him because I have limited.
Yes, he's
Here we
coming
go.
out of the waiting room.
Okay.
I guess unless council asks, they're not being brought in. So
yes. Yes, well, I
they
think
are in
this
the
is
waiting room.
this is a specific case where I'd like to give Hillary a chance to just speak to that and to be aware of the discussion. So, can he hear us in the waiting room? Maybe somebody better let me know about that, because if he can't hear us, then I better update him on why we brought him in.
There he is.
Hillary, could you hear our discussion?
Yes, I could.
Okay, fantastic. So then maybe I just wanted to give you a chance to just respond to Councillor Poplinski and in terms of the budget numbers you have here, and then in terms of bringing a report.
Yes, so we missed, I guess, the report section for brushing and ditching, so I apologize there. We will have one for the next council and committee meeting. And like we did last time, I don't know if Mike is on board here. Mike, are you available? If you can bring him in, we'll discuss this further.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my video. Oh, there we go. I'm on.
So
Yeah.
we will, yeah, we forgot for some reason. I don't know why. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I have all the information. It'll just be a quick fact of updating that report, and we can have it for the next meeting for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything specific you wanted to speak to in terms of what you budgeted for ditching, gravel? Anything that you'd like to just update us on, or?
Can you, Amanda, bring that up to the ditching and ditching costs? Yeah, 22. That's, we did well there. We got it. Mike, you can talk on where we ditched if you want, or what to be the answer. Just off the top of your head, if you know.
Through you, Mayor Love, if I could, I think it would be very helpful to know what we're going to be, not just what we've done, what we've achieved, but also what we are going to be spending where we're going to be spending the $22,000. And is it adequate to do all the needs that we've got?
Okay, I'm wondering, is it possible for you to speak to the budgeted amount and what you anticipate doing this year, Mike, with the 22,000 in ditching?
Yeah, for sure. I seem to be having some computer trouble here. It keeps freezing on me, but yes. Oh.
Okay.
Am I still here?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yes. I think the best way would probably be if I just bring forward the same report as last year with all the previously done sections and then what's planned for next year. I think that's the best way to do it. As far as budget-wise, this is a sustainable amount. I think that we're on the right track here. If we just keep budgeting this amount, obviously we're going to take it up a little more, but expenses with fuel and labor is getting higher every year. But I've been and I'll release a list of all the projects for 2022.
Okay, so you'll be bringing that to us.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to give you a chance to speak on it in case there was something you could update us on, but you're anticipating continuing as per the program that we've had in place.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any other questions on this page while we have both Hillary and Mike here? Just thought I'd ask. Now I can't see all of council, so you're probably going to have to speak up if you have a question. Okay, I'm trying to flip and see. I think there's no other questions on that page. Do we want to proceed then with vehicle expenses? Amanda?
Okay. I can't see myself, so I don't know if I'm muting. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
It's
Sorry.
challenging.
Okay. Okay, so we have tried to stay again within some reasonable budgetary limits within our vehicles. Again, it's difficult to budget. You don't know when a unit is going to decide to have an emergency malfunction. Gas prices are so up and down lately. It's also difficult to forecast fuel costs. One day they're at 98 cents and the next day it's $1.20. So that makes it difficult. I'm just going to scroll through here because we did have an emergency approval. Where are you? I know I identified it. 30, oh, 36, Sterling pile truck, 30,000. Right here, I believe 66. Was it 66 that we had an emergency approval on?
No, it was 46, I believe. Or
I'm sorry, I thought I wrote it down.
no.
We have a high expenditure for the 2011 International Tandem.
Yes.
And that one was increased.
That's number 70, I believe. Did we not have
here. Okay, so here, number 70, that's high at $51,000. And we received emergency approval for that repair. And then there was one that just came in, I believe, was it the John Deere backhoe? This 30,000, something had just come through, Hillary.
Correct.
Right at the last minute.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So there was transmission failure, and so we are asking for additional funds for the maintenance costs of the John Deere backhoe.
Okay, so those are two that are already known in the budget year. Is there any questions from council on the vehicle maintenance pages, which is 24, 25, 26 in your printed sheets, and I hope 33 to 35 for the public? Sue hasn't said no, so I'm going to hope that's it. Any questions on those pages? Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mary Love. And actually, the question for Mr. Kuchkowski. On this page dealing with the expenses of vehicles, are there any of these vehicles considered to be taken out of service and surplus? And are we looking at replacing any of them this year or next? And I think there's going to be a discussion about having a vehicle for to make it available for the building department. I think I saw that somewhere in the notes, and I'm just wondering whether we could utilize one of these other vehicles that may not be, may still have some miles in them, and that could be utilized. I think back to the 2005 Toyota car that we talked about getting rid of, and I think that's, that was a vehicle that was worthwhile keeping, and from what I understand, I still see it being driven around. So I'm just wondering, can we utilize some of this equipment instead of going out and spending, $30,000 or $40,000 on a new vehicle?
Okay, so can I break your question down into two parts? Could we maybe first discuss about roads, specifically vehicles needed for roads?
Yeah.
And are there any vehicles that are being retired or being transitioned to waste management, for example, in the roads fleet? And then we'll come back to your question about the building department and a vehicle, Councillor Poplinski, after we've completed this. So did you want to speak to that, Hillary, the vehicles that are being retired or transitioned to a different department?
Yes, through you, Chair. So
Yep.
Unit 50, it's getting tired. It has a plow on it and a sander for smaller jobs. So we're proposing to replace that with a 3/4 ton. It's a little bit undersized. It's a heavy 1/2 ton. We're proposing to replace that with a new one. Like a 3/4 ton, and we have budgeted 65. And absolutely, that could be semi-retired to fit other not so stressful transportation requirements. And that would suit fine. It's a 4-wheel drive. And I believe that may suffice for what we're trying to prove or get for the building department.
Okay, so we will hold that discussion until we just complete in terms of the roads department, and we'll come back to that. I've made a note that number 50 could still have some useful life in it. But are there any of our roads vehicles that we are retiring or transitioning to a different department this year?
Well, we got the new tandem, it's called 89 now, Unit 89. And 89, correct. And we transitioned the 42 to the Arc Lake waste site for its retirement years. So I believe we're okay for 2022 or into 2022, but things change so rapidly with these trucks, and we're getting still 15 years out of them. We're doing very well, 15-year life cycle, and none are scheduled for 2021, but we look at 2022, but we can maybe forecast into 2022 once I get firmer numbers from Mike Fenny's.
Okay, Hillary, we're losing your, I don't know why we're losing your voice. Okay, did you complete your answer?
Yes.
Okay, I see Councillor Bromwich has his hand up. I'd give him a chance to ask a question about this, and then we'll proceed into discussing the capital equipment purchases that are projected and then the building department need. So Councillor Bromwich?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Just a quick question here. That garbage truck out in Bark Lake has a bit of a hydraulic leak in it. And I'm just wondering if somebody could have a look at that and see if they could stop the leak. I think one of the lines are, or one of the seals are gone on the piston. And they're using quite a bit of hydraulic fluid to top it up. And I just wonder if somebody was looking at it, Hillary, or could we get something done about it? I wouldn't want to see it poisoning the dump,
I wasn't aware of this.
It's yeah, the compactor where we throw our garbage. Apparently they have to use about 10 gallons of hydraulic fluid a week to keep it going, but that's not a good situation. I don't know if anybody's even mentioned it to you, so I just thought I'd bring it up. You could check it out for us. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Sorry, Council. I can only look in so many directions at once here. Okay, are there any other questions on vehicle maintenance expenses? Because I think what I'll do is transition into, I know we'll be skipping construction. We'll come back to construction, but since we're talking about vehicles and our ability to potentially reuse a vehicle, why don't we go to what is page 28? The capital equipment budget. Amanda, is it okay if we go to that one and we'll complete this discussion? Page 28 printed for council and for the public, Sue, I don't know what page that is, sorry. Vehicle expenses was, okay. Can you tell me what page capital, equipment capital is? I'm sorry. If Sue could tell me.
So you want the transportation equipment
Transportation
capital?
roads equipment capital page for the public.
So that would be page 37 of the public agenda, page 28 in council's
Yes.
package.
Okay, just so we can complete our discussion, because it's been brought up that there's potentially a vehicle that could be transitioned from roads to the building department. Amanda, maybe if I could just have you introduce this page, and then we'll carry into that discussion of what the needs are and what we may have that we
Certainly.
could use. Okay.
So within the transportation equipment capital budget, we have identified, there have been previous discussions with regards to sand dome. So we have, maybe that should have been better in construction, but I'm not sure. So we have started with Sand Dome 2021 site prep and tendering, budgeted 30,000 with a potential expenditure for 2022 of 650,000. There has been a request from the building department to purchase a dedicated 4x4 half-ton extra cab for use. It was identified that the building department requires a unit that is reliable. I say a lot of new residents are purchasing properties and building on roads that are private roads and therefore not really up to the standards of the municipal standards, and can be quite a task to get down them. So they do have one vehicle that was here that was dedicated to an older unit. I believe it was number 41. But again, that unit remained in the shop for much of the year. We also have within our parking lot is the escape that council purchased previously, and that is shared between fire and building department as well. And it has been identified that sometimes, particularly in the summer months, the spring and summer and fall months when it's very busy, the building inspector receives calls. Sometimes at the last minute, you know, there's something happening on site. I need you to come right now because you know, we're pouring cement right now, or this is when they could come, and I need your approval. And he's off to try and provide his approval for the building department. And therefore it can make it difficult when he's searching for vehicles here at the office. So that's what that is. And then we have identified $65,000 for a three-quarter ton truck with a V-plow, which will replace equipment 50. And in 2022, we have identified equipment 63 to be replaced at approximately $45,000. If council.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. So Hillary, you are basically prepared to retire number 50 from your fleet, and do you believe it has some life left in it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so could you retrofit it, take the plow and the sanding box off of it, and do some repairs on it so that it could be used at least for a year for the planning department?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So council, what we could possibly do is then retrofit that truck, put it into service for planning, and possibly budget, instead of budgeting 45,000 for a new vehicle this year, there would be the possibility of putting some money into reserves towards a new vehicle in either next year or the year after. This could be an option that we could consider. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's a very good way to go.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Faplinski. So I'm just wondering if it would be reasonable to put, you know, even if we were to put 25,000 into reserves in planning for a vehicle to be purchased in a subsequent year, and repurpose.
Wilmer. Sorry, Councillor
Oh.
Wilmer had his hands up.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I honestly couldn't see him. Councillor Wilmer.
No, I had nothing new to add. I was going to say what Councillor Bablinski did. I think it's a very good idea. If it has a little bit of life still in it, we should take advantage of that. And I think it's a good move. So that's my only thought.
Okay, thank you. So council, would we be willing to say put 20 or 25,000 into reserves for the future replacement of that truck? Because we do recognize that the building department is significantly busier, and we not only have residential building, but we also have large building work that is going to be going on in our community over the next couple of years as well. Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, I'd be prepared to do that. I think with the amount of growth that we may see, and as you say, the large, we certainly do need a reliable vehicle down the road, and I think it's a responsible way of managing our budget.
Okay, so anyone else on that? Any discussion on that? Now I can't see Councillor Shoeless. Just let me look. There we are. Okay, anyone else? 20 or 25,000? Thoughts? What seems reasonable? Amanda, Hillary, somebody?
Okay, well.
So
Okay.
I will just speak if that's okay. So this
Yes.
$45,000 that I had identified was to be drawn from reserves. So do you wish for me to just take that $45,000 expenditure out and put that $45,000 back into the reserves? Or are you asking for an additional $20,000 in reserves?
Okay, so it was coming from the working fund reserve?
It was.
Okay, I just wanted to identify where it was coming from.
So the comments that I have in discussion with the department and staff is that, you know, over the years, as there's been surpluses, that the money gets deposited into the working fund reserve. And, you know, we may have already experienced additions to the working fund reserves over the years that would equal the purchase of this unit. So I just wanted to relay that to council so that you're aware.
Okay,
So if we were to add an additional $20,000 to a building department reserve, that will increase our levy rate unless we cut somewhere else.
okay, thank you. Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, I wasn't quite clear on that. No, my suggestion would be to put the 45,000 back into the reserve, and when we do require it,
Yes.
we'll bring it back out again.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so if we could do that change, please. I gotta make a note of that. And we'll just leave that money in the working reserve. I think this basically it shows us if we have to look at our building fees, our fees for building permits, et cetera, and so forth, as revenue neutral. But if we're not accounting for this kind of need going forward for a vehicle that's dedicated to the building and planning department, then we may not have our fees set at the right level. And it's difficult to know that if any surplus from that department has just automatically gone into the unallocated reserve, as per policy that any surplus goes into the unallocated reserve. So I'm not sure how, Amanda, going forward, we might want to, for our own understanding of the revenue neutrality of our fees, how we want to account for that. I guess that's my concern, to make sure that our fees do reflect the cost of providing the service. So I may have to, I'll leave that one with you because that might take some consideration and sorting, but we do know that as the building department gets busier, there is definitely going to be a need to ensure that there's a reliable vehicle available to them going forward. So it's kind of a balancing act. We need to ensure our fees are set at the correct level, but at the same time, if we're not accounting for these expenses through the building and planning department, then that may not be the case. So somehow we have to work this out. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Mayor Love, I think that's a very good idea. And I think that recently there's been discussion about perhaps using the revenue from the sale of the waterfront property that we sell off to people and putting it in recreation facilities or in the building department. I think there's a bigger discussion which needs to have centered around that. And you know, because we do have to pay for those services, and we need vehicles, we need people, we need to make these things happen. So, as I say, I'd like to be part of a bigger discussion on that matter.
Okay, I think that definitely at the point when we're done this budget, that is some discussion that we do need to have going forward so that we're set up for next year's budget. And as I say, we've identified all of the expenditures that are required to provide building services under building services, but also recognize the revenue that's coming in from them. And then also the separate discussion about the sale of shoreline road allowance and how we could potentially use those revenues to help offset costs, for example, to update public docking facilities and wharfs.
Yes.
Okay, so staff, if you could please note that council would like to have that discussion, and it will probably be more impactful of our next budget if we are doing that. And Amanda, sorry.
I just wanted to point out, so I think that the way that we have restructured, restructured our reports, our revenues versus expenditures reports that will be coming to council monthly, we'll be able to better see the fees and the permit charges versus the actual costs for the building department, so that we can then easily identify if our fees or our rates are, you know, too low or too high, so that we can see how they impact the expenses for the department. And then we'll be able to better make a decision for future years.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to the transition next year to our new software and being able to see those things more clearly on the same page. Okay, so Councillor Poplinski, are you okay with us having a note that we will do that work going forward, so that
No, I think that's the right way to approach it, and I wanted to mention it because of all these. There's a lot of discussion here around this, and I think we're looking at all of these things, and it really what it shows the public that we are concerned about the costs going forward. And if we can utilize an older vehicle in another capacity, then that makes a lot of sense if we have the capability of doing that. So I think it's having the larger discussion about just this whole thing is very beneficial. So I look forward to doing that.
Okay, so again, that is something we will work on this year in preparation for the 2022 budget, to ensure that with the transition to the new software, that we have realigned things to better see clearly that those things are balanced. In terms of, okay, so Hillary, if we could please, as you get your replacement vehicle for number 50, if you could prep it to be able to be used by the planning department and transition it to that department, that would be fantastic.
Very well.
Okay. And hopefully it'll give us a year, or, you know, and it'll be a reliable, serviceable vehicle for that need. Okay, so I would imagine some discussion about the sand dome prep. Maybe Hillary, did you want to speak to the site prep and tendering?
So I believe our goal was, it's too large of a thing to try and pull off. This building has to happen during the year, and then we can time our sand, perhaps move the sand pile to another location. And this way I can go into RFP situation. They'll take me into the summer, and it'll be a design and build. And perhaps to do some, we have to excavate. That'll be part of the parcel, and then full build in 2022. That would get us a chance to remove the sand that's there. And then when we get the sand in 2021 in the fall, we'd put it in our old location. That'll clear everything up and go into a build situation in 2022. I think that's the only way we can do it, because we need that sand pile, but we need it we're going to put it in a different location than where it is now. And hopefully I hope not, by the end of this winter, maybe there'll be a tablespoon left there. I'm hoping, but not really. So that's what the plan of attack is.
Okay, so you need to do site prep and tendering. So if council will recall, we had a discussion a number of meetings ago about the fact that the cost of the sand dome is rising faster than our ability to put funds away, and that if we could pin one of these down through a process of borrowing whatever the additional amount of money is that we would require to complete it, the actual amount we would be paying back over a very short period of time would be significantly less than the money we're attempting to continue to put away to build at least one sand dome. So we would be able to get this done and in service, and with I can't remember, Amanda, if it was something like 5 years, we would be able to pay it back.
Yes.
And we would be putting away less money to have it and pay it back than what we've been putting away to try to have sufficient funds to be able to build it, and not succeeding because the cost keeps increasing. So this was a discussion we had and a plan that we thought was worthwhile. And I think staff is doing their best to try to implement that so that we get one built, and then we can proceed to look at how we're going to approach getting the second one built. This one at Yard 1 is the one that Hillary has identified needs to go up first because of environmental reasons, I believe, Hillary?
Yes, I would choose this site because of the location of environmental and ball field and stuff like that.
Yes.
We have to secure it better.
Okay. Are there any questions from council on that? Councillor Poplinski.
Thank you, Mayor Love. I think this is the discussion about the sand dome, I think is one which I think need to look at. First of all, my question was, why are we only building one, and why are we building it where we're building it? Is consideration given to the proximity to the roads where the gravel is actually most of it's used? Does that come into play? Also, you know, with the other big issue coming up regarding the large expenditure at the PJY, certainly one of the areas of reserves that we've got that I looked at having a discussion about was exactly the sand dome. You know, with we can't go out and borrow money to build a second sand dome when we have to consider borrowing money to build a new PJY. So all I'm saying is that it may be one of the ones that maybe it's we can do without. We've done without it this long, and you know, we should consider perhaps using that money that's in there now and the money that we're going to put in again this year. If we're never catching up, then why not use it where it's needed immediately? And that's at the arena. So that's the discussion that I'd like to see have.
Okay, Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. This discussion's been going on for probably a dozen years. And we've been dealing with the sand dome, what the requirement of a sand dome, why we need one. I'm not going to go through that again. It's causing vehicle damage. It's a threat to the people that are working there in the wintertime loading sand. It's an actual safety factor, liability issue. It's a liability issue during the summer when the kids are playing the baseball field. We've already established the sand dome is very necessary. It's a priority to us. We're trying to do catch up here. Every year I've gone to Ogra. There's been a different quote for these sand domes going from 400,000 up to $500,000. Now we're talking $750,000. Every year we put it off. It seems to be increasing. We'll never catch up. I think Hillary's idea here of preparation of the site plan right away, get the site prepped so that when we do establish the actual contract with somebody to install it, there's no delay. Using this money for the PJ&Y is just another way of just canceling any projects on sand domes at all. We're talking now about a second sand dome. I mean, this is a major construction. I don't believe we should be backtracking on this. I think we should go forward. A great idea, 30,000 for site prep and tendering, and let's get a firm figure here with a commitment from a company that can put it in there in 2 weeks' time. That's what it takes to install a sand dome. And then it's a safety storage factor. We can store even vehicles in there during the winter. We have an issue now with storage in our yards for vehicles. This would enhance that storage. So if you want to cancel the sand dome, let's not talk about it anymore, okay? Just forget about it.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, I think the approach that's laid out with the 30,000 in 2021 and the rest, and then do the construction in 2022 is a good approach. And I think that's the way we should go. I certainly haven't been here 12 years, but I do know it's been identified, and I particularly some of the equipment damage and the health safety to our employees, I think, are reasons enough to at least do this one dome. I also, I think though, when we do it, we may, if we've identified that there are environmental concerns at the present site, I think when we are looking at new location, we should look at all factors, whether it makes, is that the best location? Do you want to move it somewhere else? But I agree. I think it's time to do the prep work this year and then complete it next year.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I'll just refer the notion of there being a different location to Hillary. Is there another location where the sand dome could go that would serve out of yard 1?
You mean like put it at yard 2?
No,
I don't know
I'm
what-
suggesting, is there another location that we own as a municipality, land where we could put it that would serve the north half of the municipality? So the yard 1 trucks could go to that location to fill with sand. Do we have any other property? We don't, do we?
No, because it has to work in tandem with loaders plugged in or inside, and you salt, and it has to be at that location.
Okay, so it is for us the best location that we have to provide all the other needs that we would have in order, as you said, to plug in loaders, etc. Councillor Wilmer.
Yes, but we will have to move it to allow for the for the existing sand to still be there. I'm just thinking more on site. Perhaps this will allow us, just looking at the site itself, to come up with the best position for it there, if it is not already in the best position.
Okay, so part of the site review would be to not fixate on this is where the sand pile is, therefore this is where the sand dome must go, but rather to review the whole site in terms of the different uses of the site in order to ensure that the final site chosen for the sand dome is the best site. I hope I as succinctly as possible stated that. Hillary, would that be any concern to you that part of the review of the site would be to ensure that this is the only or best location?
I believe there is only one location at that site.
Okay.
Beside the ball field.
All right, so at this point, what we have in the budget is that we would do that site review and ensure that the groundwork was prepped for the sand dome, and council's position, I'm guessing, but I guess we could take a vote on it, is basically that you do want to proceed with the sand dome. So maybe what I need, Sue, is a motion to that effect. I need something, and if there's objection to that or it doesn't pass, then we'll proceed into discussion about what the alternatives are.
Can you clarify or elaborate on what the motion should be?
Well, I'm trying to capture this discussion. I have one member of council who's saying the money should be redirected to the arena, and I have other members of council saying that they want to proceed with the sand dome project. So I need a motion, one way or the other, in order to seek a direction from council on whether to continue on the path that's identified in this budget and to actually build a sand dome in 2022, or to change direction and not do so, and then reallocate those funds elsewhere. The example given was the arena project. Councillor Bromwich.
Fairly simple. Hillary laid it out fairly clearly here. To clear the sand away at the end of our winter here, clear that space where the sand dome would be located, put the sand, whatever's left, into another location so that site is actually level, ready for prepping. Prep the site, ready for construction of the sand dome. At that point, it's the only place we can put it. We've discussed this. We've done site studies on this before. In fact, some of our council members have been there, and it's the only option. So it's a very simple motion, is to, maybe Hillary could lay it out a little clearer for Sue to put it through, but site prep, moving sand, spending the 30,000, getting a tender prepared and ready for next year. I think that's pretty clear. Thank you.
Okay, so I think it would be, Wait a second, Councillor Schulist.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I think you're right. We need to make a decision, and we've done all this research, and we identify a need for it. Basically, all we have to do now is, are we going to do it or not? And I think a motion, either it's approved or not. So I think putting a motion together to say those things, let's make a decision today, and then we go move forward, because if we're going to do it, there's a timeline. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I guess, Sue, what I need is a motion to proceed with the $30,000 in site prep and tendering for a sand dome in 2021 at Yard 1. I don't know how to say then, with the intent of constructing the sand dome in 2022. Hillary, have I captured that?
Correct. That's our
Okay.
goal. We'll go into our RFP situation this summer. And then when I get the numbers back, they come back to you. If it's totally not within this ballpark, then we go to plan B. You don't know what's going to happen with once I get the numbers back, but
Yes.
it's a start.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Wilmer, I apologize.
And no problem. I'm just wondering though, simply, do we need a motion, or do we simply just leave the 30,000 in the budget? And then we have the funds to do what is needed this year, which gets the project moving. I mean, obviously, if we remove it from there, we're not going to do it. But if we leave it in and it passes final budget, it's getting done.
Okay, I guess I was seeking that clarity that council's desire was to proceed with the sand dome project as presented by staff in the site that has been chosen by staff. So I just wanted to be very clear about that, I guess. Councillor Wilmer, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess if you're going a little further than the budget then. So yeah, I would suggest a motion. Thank you.
Okay. Amanda.
I just wanted to ask, does council know, have they seen the site? Like, is that something that would be helpful for council? Are they knowledgeable of what it looks like? I know I don't go down there regularly, so I haven't been in that area for quite some time, but is that something that would be helpful for council?
We've seen it.
Okay, Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. We have had a site visit down there for that very purpose. In fact, the day we were down there as a council, there was a load of ice went in the back of a truck and ripped the belt off the back of the truck. So I remember that day very well. I think Councilor Poplinski was there. You were there. We had a real good look at that particular yard in the site. Beg pardon?
No, I wasn't there. No, never saw that.
Okay.
Anyway, we had a site visit. If you want to go back and have another look, I've seen it about 20 times, so I don't know. I don't have to go back and see it. But
all right. Well, at this point, I guess what I'm looking for is, does council wish to proceed to leave the sand dome site prep and tendering at Yard 1 in the budget? I think I want a clear direction for staff for this year. Sue, can I get a motion to that effect? I'm sorry, Sue.
Yes, I have a proposed motion, but having said that, oftentimes once we bring forward RFPs and or survey results, it changes the outcome of what they may be seeking. So I'm a little bit hesitant as I'm putting this forward, but so what I did put is that council approves the operations manager direction to approve the allocated $30,000 in the 2021 transportation equipment capital budget to proceed with 2021 site preparation tendering for a sand dome at Yard 1. So I'm not saying that this is not saying that we're committed to the other $650,000 in 2022. It's saying that we are moving forward with the site preparation and tendering for a sand dome.
Okay, so we need to do that to ascertain, because this could come back and say, this is not a site that you can do this. We don't know
That's
what's going to
correct.
come back.
And so to my point, once the Hillary has identified moving the sand and possibly choosing a site, and once you do this survey and or site preparation, there may be a different outcome to come to council for consideration, at which point they again would have to decide if we're moving forward with this or not.
Okay, so maybe the simplest way to do this is just identify that the sand dome, the line item, sand dome 2021 site prep and tendering at yard 1.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
in the budget. Then we know where that is happening. The public is aware of where that is happening.
Yes.
And if we just leave that there, then in the end, if council approves this budget, then recognize that that is an item that we are approving for the $30,000 to ascertain with a certainty that the site at yard 1 is an appropriate site and it would be prepped.
Yes.
Okay, so can we have that understanding, council? And that's a component of this budget. Then I guess I don't need a motion. I was just trying to make sure we were very clear about the direction, because when I hear 3 or 4 different possibilities, yeah, I don't want to have a vagueness about this budget and where we intend to spend that money and what we intend to do with it. Okay, so we will leave it at that so that it is clearly identified and council can make that decision. Is there anything else on this capital equipment budget page that council wishes to discuss? Okay, I am not seeing anything. So we have noted that we've taken out the 4x4 half-ton 45,000. It is not in the budget for an expenditure and it will not be withdrawn from reserves this year. And vehicle number 50 will be transitioned to the planning department for now. So that's where we're at with this. Any questions or concerns about that, Sue?
It may not pertain to this. It's more a question for the treasurer. I know it had been identified by staff. They would be coming forward to council to make the Toyota Corolla to deem it as surplus. So that doesn't, I don't need to list anything in here.
So could we make a note of that? Hillary, that was your plan, was it not?
Correct.
Okay, so
Make it surplus.
So can we make a note that we'll need a resolution when we're done to make it surplus? Okay, I'm going to make a note too.
Unit 49, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we can address that when we're done. Okay, so we've covered capital equipment budget, we've covered vehicle expenditures. What we skipped over, Amanda, do you want to go back to the construction capital budget for transportation services?
Yes.
Okay, if we could go back there, and I think keeping Hillary handy for this so he can speak to any questions council has.
Okay. Okay, 2021 Transportation Services Construction Capital Budget. So we have not identified any sidewalk rehabilitation for 2021. The gravel resurfacing is again budgeted at 140,000. The roads, I have not received an identifiers which roads are to be the ones receiving the gravel resurfacing, but I believe that the operations supervisor was going to provide that in an upcoming committee update. Plans for 2021 include Arbor Vita Road, 2 kilometers pulverized, granular A, DST 175,000. Pog Lake Road, 274,201, and that is just finishing off the previous repair project. 300,000 for Chepesky Mill Road, 2 kilometers pulverized, granular A, 50 millimeter hot mix. Connecting Link Boulevard construction, 384,453. That we have applied for funding under the Connecting Link program. And we do have reserves from the Connecting Link previously that will offset this cost. Jack Pine Street, 0.2 kilometers, pulverized granular A, 50 millimeter hot mix, 65,000. Wolowski Drive, 1 kilometer pulverized granular A, 50 millimeters hot mix, 175,000. And I am proposing that we use the gas tax funds for Wolowski Drive and the OSIF funds to offset the cost of Chepesky Mill Road. And if there are any questions from council.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Sorry, Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sorry, the construction capital budget is page 27 for council and page 36 for the public. Okay, any questions on what's proposed for construction in 2021 from council? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Any concerns from council using the gas tax for Wolowski Drive or the OCIF funding for Chepesky Mill? Okay, don't see any concerns with those. So we'll need a resolution to do that, Amanda, when as we're completing this process. Give me a second, I'm making a note too. Okay. All right. Hillary, do you have any comments on what you propose for construction or any further information you wanted to give council on any of these projects?
No, they're out of their roads need study from Group A. That's
Okay.
what was projected. And they all need this work.
Okay. Okay, anything further from council on the roads construction? I am not seeing anything. Okay. Then let's see, capital reserve budget for transportation. Are we going to do that one next, Amanda, or which one would you like to? There we are. Okay. Page 29, council in your printed package, and I will let Sue tell me what page that is for the public. Okay, Sue, what page is that for the public? I'm sorry.
It's okay. So the equipment, the capital reserve is on page 38 of the package,
Okay.
the public package, and 29 in the treasure package.
Yes. Okay. Amanda.
Okay, so transportation capital reserves, 2020, we had put in 402,231, 2021, 392,231. The Sand Dome Reserve has been increased this year above last year's, and it will again increase next year. We do have a weather events reserve, and it is in good, stable condition, so that was reduced this year. And again, we added an additional 5,000 for sidewalk reserve, just for future, if there's larger projects that require some heavy investment in them. But throughout the year, we try to make patches or fix items up with minimal costs and with staff time. If there's any questions from council.
Okay, any questions on the capital reserves for transportation? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I think Amanda, the increase in the Sand Dome reserve was to cover the 30,000 that will need to be expended so that we would net another 80,000. Is that not right?
That's correct.
Okay, because the 30,000 that's going to be expended for that is being drawn from this reserve. Okay, any further comments from council on the transportation capital reserve budget? Okay, not seeing any. Where does that take us? I guess streetlights, which is page 30 for council. And wonder what page for the public. I'm sorry. Sue, what page is streetlights?
Page 40 is the capital budget for streetlights, and page 39 is the streetlight services budget.
Okay. All right, so let's start with the services budget on page 39 for the public, 30 for council. Amanda.
So 2021 streetlight services budget, not a lot of expenditures here. Energy charges are for the whole of the municipality. Servicing costs if the streetlight goes out and we need the attention. Streetlight capital, 2020 budgeted 7,500, 2020 actual 0. And that was, there were some difficulties identifying and getting approvals for the locations of the streetlights. So we just move those funds back into reserves for 2020 and then just drawing them back out in 2021 to finish off those projects. So if we look at the streetlights capital, we have identified that those monies, I believe it's for Ohio Road, if that's correct, Hillary, and those projects have been completed and there were no additional streetlights identified for 2021. Is that correct, Hillary?
That's correct. The invoice went through here, and I guess you haven't posted them yet. So this will be cleared. I think there'll be a actual against that.
Okay.
For 2021.
Any minute.
All right, so the projects are actually completed. Any questions from council on the streetlight budget, operating or capital? Okay, not seeing any. All right, what do we have next, Amanda?
We have the very large 2021 municipal properties budget.
Okay, page 32 for council's printed package, and for the
Page
public,
41.
page 41. Thank you, Sue.
So this budget is the care and maintenance of the Commermere Methodist Cemetery.
Okay.
So 2020 we budgeted 500. 2020 actual was 4420. There was an incident on the property which involved some expenditures. And 2021 just brought that expenditure back to the 500 that we typically budget for it.
Okay. All right, any questions on that? Not seeing any. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, what is next?
All right, so we'll move into the 2021 waste disposal budget, which is page 33 of the written or the printed package.
Okay, so 33 and 34 for council.
Page 42.
42 and 43?
42 and 43, yes.
Great, thank you for the public. All right, Amanda.
Okay. All right. All right. 2021 waste disposal budget. So salaries has increased slightly. It has been the attention to the Bark Lake waste site has increased. There has been a lot of use at the Bark Lake waste site and requiring some additional staff in the summertime as well. So we've slightly increased that. Studies and monitoring we continue to do as required. Household hazardous waste day expenses, again, we typically fall within our budget lines, so it's strong there. And I think we always budget for the C&D grinding. Garbage tags. This we budgeted 3,500. The expenditure was 7,045. We actually ran out of garbage tags in the year, which is not something we typically do. So it was a significantly busy year for the waste site. Here we go. Materials and supplies increased again. We had to spend a little bit more on signage as a result of more visitors and increased needs for visibility at the waste site. We've budgeted $6,000 this year for Pog Lake site. It's just closure cover costs. Fuel tank enclosure at the Bark Lake waste site, 2020, we weren't able to complete that, so the funds went back into reserves in 2020 and will be brought back out in 2021 for the fuel tank. And then we have a capital expenditure of $20,000 for 2 additional plates at the Bark Lake waste disposal site.
Okay.
If there are questions from council.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. I'm just wondering, Hillary, if you wanted to speak to the Paw Lake closure plan. Is this going to be the final closure? Is this
Yes,
cover for final?
Through you, Chair. So what happened is we had a whole bunch of fill on that site. We mounded it, and we had someone check it. And within our ECA, you need 3-to-1 sloping, and this would entail removing some trees and deforestation. I tried, without that, we contacted MOECC, and they said, no, you'd have to change your ECA to not have 3-to-1 slope. So when we did Pod Lake Road, I diverted more fill. So we have to, on the east and west end, we have to re-slope it and remove some trees. So that's where that's coming in. That's the final one.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Will this complete the project?
Yes.
Okay, that's good for council to know. And did you want to speak to the need for 2 more steel plates as a capital item?
Yes, as you're aware, 2021, going into 21, very busy there. The garbage truck can't take it from Monday to Monday. We have to do an actual burial on Friday. So when you spread the garbage out, we have 6 plates. It's quite not enough. So with that much garbage, so 2 more would just, I had that request from the person I have burying the garbage. He said 2 plates would just be wonderful. It would enable us to not put fill over the top where it's missing. So 2 plates, they're about 8,000 to 9,000 a piece. So I believe this would really suffice in this case. I believe that the waste site will keep being as busy as it was in 20 and 21.
Okay, any questions on the waste disposal budget for Hillary or Amanda from council?
I would just like to add, just for council's awareness, we've also added a debit machine at the Bark Lake waste site for the convenience of the users.
Okay, that's good to know. Any questions on waste disposal? I'm not seeing any questions on waste disposal. Okay, Amanda, let's proceed. Oh, sorry, Sue.
That's okay. Not a question, just more a comment for council, because as you know, we've been receiving information as of started last year about the Blue Box program changes. And we are still waiting for information on that as well. So as we get it, we'll apprise council, but we're still waiting on some information.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing further on waste disposal, I'm wondering, while we have Hillary here, Amanda, did we want to do transfer stations and curbside?
We can, sorry, we can, did council want to take a quick break for lunch at all? Or do you want to?
I'm trying to complete with Hillary so that we're not keeping him an extended period of time. And the CAO has a meeting she'd like to attend between 1 and 1:30. So council, with your indulgence, if we could go till 12:45 and then take off until 1:30 to do lunch so that the CAO can attend the meeting, that would be helpful. So if we could maybe just go another half hour and complete with Hillary. All right. So could we move to curbside and transfer stations? Okay, curbside being first, that's page 55 and 56 of council's package. And I'll leave it to Sue to identify for the public.
Page 64 is the beginning of the curbside pickup area rate budget.
Okay. 64 and I'm assuming 65.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Amanda.
Okay. The curbside pickup area rate budget. This is being presented to you with a 2.12% increase from previous years. And on page 57 of your printed package, I've just printed off or provided you with the rates from 2019, 2020, and 2021, so you can see the progression. 2020 budget saw a actual withdrawal from the rate stabilization reserve of 11,053, which is down from the projected 11,995. In order to balance this budget, again, I am projecting a withdrawal from the rate stabilization reserve of 13,797 in order to keep this at a reasonable rate increase of the 2.12%. Salaries are up on curbside. There was I guess additional, possibly some overtime required for curbside pickup. We do have a capital expenditure within the budget of $250,000, which is the replacement of unit number 67 for a new garbage truck. If council has any questions for.
Okay, any questions on the curbside pickup revenues and expenditures? Council should note that the garbage truck replacement is shared between curbside pickup and transfer station budgets based on their use, their estimated use of the vehicle. And Hillary, did you need to speak to the new garbage truck or how you apportion the amounts to the two budgets? Would you like to speak on that?
This unit is the organic / garbage truck. So even with the transition to the new blue box, we will still require this unit because the garbage isn't identified in the new blue box transition. Also, organics isn't, and organics is very acidic. So the bottom is failing on the truck, but a little bit of work. And our goal is to repurpose this to Bark Lake. It'll actually help there too, because we can't make it with unit 41 for a burial every Monday. It's a little bit too small, and this new truck will, that's our goal, to repurpose that to for retirement. Okay. So between transfer stations shuttling garbage and organics, and even on when we're stuck, it can even serve as a recycling truck. So it has three things going for it, but we need with the crane. It seems to work, and then we proportion against transfer station, waste site, and our organics. That's our goal.
Okay. So yes, so the truck is paid for between the two budgets based on what you anticipate the use will be by each of the budgets. Any questions from council on the curbside pickup expenditures budget? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Amanda, did you want to do transfer stations?
Certainly.
And
That is page 58, 59, 60 of the printed package.
okay,
It starts at page 67 in your agenda package.
okay, thank you.
All right. So the transfer station area rate budget for 2021 is being presented to you with a 2% increase from previous. On page 60 of your printed package, I have again identified the transition for the rates from 2019, 2020, and 2021 so that you can see the progression. There was a draw from the site requirements reserve in 2020. It was not budgeted for. That was something that was presented in the summer from Pinch and Environmental, where we decided to put some test wells in at the Cumbermere transfer station. Again, transfer station salaries are increasing. It was a very busy year again in 2020, not just for the waste disposal site, but also for the transfer stations as well. So we've increased the salaries line a little bit as well to allow for some additional help in the summer, busy summer months for the attendance. In 2020, we budgeted that there would be a surplus deficit transfer of $5,518. It is projected that it will only be 1,293, which allows us to provide a transfer of 4,550.78 to offset the costs and therefore bring the rate increase at 2% and balance this budget. There are no capital expenditures proposed for the 2021 budget year for the transfer stations. Is there any questions from council?
Okay, any questions on the transfer station budget?
Nope.
Okay, I'm not seeing any. Amanda, did we capture the amount that sorry, I just realized, did we capture the amount that will be coming out of the reserve? That's out of withdrawals from reserves, correct? For the transfer station portion of the garbage truck that's being purchased.
Correct. I have it within the
Okay, so it's
in the little box, and the curbside portions coming from transfer station and portions coming from curbside.
That's right. Okay, I
Yes.
just wanted to remember. I was just trying to remember where it was. I knew it was here somewhere.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. So we've captured that. It just happens to appear in the curbside pickup budget under revenue.
Yes.
Okay.
So Mayor Love, if I may.
Yes.
Just want to clarify. So at the end of the budget presentation, there would be two resolutions. One that the curbside pickup area rate budget with a rate increase of 2.12 and the transfer station area rate with an increase of 2%.
Right. Okay, we need resolutions to that effect too. Yes. Okay, thank you. Just keeping track of the things we need to do when we are finished. Okay. Is there any other budget that we need Hillary for, Amanda?
I don't know. It seems to be all encompassing of our budgets.
Okay. So if we were to go back, we've just dealt with waste disposal and the two area rated budgets that relate to waste.
That should bring us to library.
Yes. So that is page 35, council, of your printed package, and library for Sue. Could you let me know for the public? Oh, I keep grabbing.
Page 44.
Page 44 for the public. Okay. So we had our presentation this morning from the library board and the CEO, and Council there, you basically see the impact of their request for operating funds through the transfers and grants, and then their capital expenditure. Amanda, is there anything else here that you wanted to speak to?
I just want to clarify that this is our budget and not the
Yes.
library's budget. So when we identify salaries for the library, that's not her salary for the year, $300. That's just our component of if Public Works or someone goes and, does some outside work or whatnot. That's just the cost of the payroll costs of our employees to be out there.
Right.
There was, I think Karen dealt with this. So the capital expenditure, 3,500 budgeted. Nothing was spent. And so then we'll just put it back into reserves and pull it back out in 2021.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions from council on the library services budget? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. And the capital was explained as well. So page 37 in the printed package is the planning and development budget. And Sue, what page is that for the public?
Page 46.
Okay. All right. Now, do we want Silas to be in for this section of the meeting? I don't know how busy he is today.
I'm not sure that he's here.
Oh, okay.
I think he may have left for lunch. I don't see his vehicle.
Okay, well, let's proceed with this review of what we've got in front of us. And if there's any questions, we can ask those questions after lunch.
So the 2021 planning and development budget, salaries were budgeted at 58 and actual was 62,116. So we increased that salaries amount to 75,000 this year. I would just like to point out that the planning and zoning salaries line is not just made up of one individual. There is shared salaries within the building department that are also attributed to this line. So as we increase our building services, costs are all expended towards the salary line. We've moved the shoreline road allowance expenditure from general to the planning and development department, and consultant fees are higher than budgeted, but then they are offset. So these costs here are all recouped as a revenue. We capture those in invoicing their charges back to the consumer for that. And then materials and supplies is mainly just toner printing costs. And if there's any questions from council.
Okay, Amanda, just on this page, I guess the titles didn't get changed. I'm just noticing
Oh,
it
yes,
says
I see that.
2019, that should be 2020 budget, and 2020 actual, and 2021 budget. Okay, I just noticed it.
There always has to be one typo at least.
Well, there it is. I can live with that one. All right, are there any questions from council on the planning and development budget? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions on that one. All right, our next one, economic development.
Okay, 2021.
Now, is Stephanie available? Would she like to? It might be helpful if we had her here as we get in, especially as we get into parks and recreation as well.
Just let me check. I know
Okay.
that she had texted and I thought this would bring us into the break. Just let me double check.
Okay. I gather she's coming.
Yes, she said she was in the waiting room.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. I just wanted to make sure you were here as we enter into economic development and recreation and parks. So you're available to answer any questions that council may have if they need some details. So thank you for joining us. I will turn it back to Amanda to speak to the economic development budget.
There we go. 2021 economic development budget. Again, try to remain as close as possible to 2020's budget. We've increased staff training and education as there were some courses identified for this year. Convention and seminar training costs we've decreased from previous year. Where are we here? Okay, new initiatives expense budgeted 8,000 in 2020, and the expenditure was 2257. So we've decreased it for 2021, just because it's a difficult. Again, although we're on the looking at that there might be some possibility of doing some more items. We are still in a COVID-19 situation, and therefore it's difficult to project what's going to happen. The municipal beautification expense. So this is the expense for the flowers and the railway station planters that we have throughout this community. So the Horticultural Society provides us with what they require from us, and then we budget some extra for planters and what we see that we need to put into the community. Equipment purchase and other expenditures, $350 for the twinning committee. Barry's Bay sign refurbishment. Again, we budgeted $2,121 for 2021. Santa Claus Parade, Tree of Lights, budgeted $850. There was, again, unfortunately, there was nothing last year. So we have budgeted again this year, and hopefully we'll be able to experience some of those activities. Same with business breakfast seminars. And the heritage plaques or walking museum maps that the society requires to update or add new plaques. We've budgeted for them for this year. There's a capital expenditure of $20,000. 10,000 is for our Valley Manor commitment, and another 10,000 for our marketing and communications plan. If there are any questions from council.
Okay, any questions from council? Let's start with the operating budget. Any questions on the economic development operating budget, which is page 47 for the public, page 38 for council? Any questions on the operating budget? Okay, I'm not seeing any. How about the capital budget, page 39 for council, 48 for members of the public? Questions on the capital budget for economic development? Okay. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Mayor Love, I've just missed it here. I can't seem to find it. There was it 10,000 or 20,000 for our marketing and communication. What's that all about?
There's $10,000 Valley Manor commitment.
Right.
And then there's a $10,000 for our marketing and communications plan.
Okay, did staff want to speak to the marketing communications plan so that to give Councillor Poplinski a little more information on that? Who would like to speak to that? I can't see everybody.
I was going to say, I can't see anybody either.
Stephanie, did you want to speak to that?
Sure. So I was in contact with a group, and what we were looking to do is put a little bit of joint marketing in our township. And I'd gotten a couple quotes, and I'm hoping that with this, we'd be able to advertise our township and include more local initiatives, our local advertising in each individual town. We had somebody come through our town who saw things that we could be promoting internally, locally. So it's an opportunity to have somebody come and do this type of an assessment in our township and try to join the 3 townships under one marketing plan. I don't know if the CAO clerk has anything else to add on that.
Sue?
Yes, that was something that was identified when we were doing our strategic plan, if you recall. So one of the council priorities was, yes, we are Madawaska Valley, but we all have unique cultural benefits in our individual hamlets. So Wilno, Combermere, Barry's Bay. So it was to bring some marketing, some betterments that we can add to our website and to promote. So for example, this individual that does marketing had driven through to have a meeting and said, you know, she took the time to go through, for example, Combermere, and said she always thought the Mission House had something to do with the Madonna House. She didn't realize all of the culture and the heritage that was there and how it pertained to Craigmont Mines and all of the history about the Mayflower. And she said, you know, little things like the things coming through, that there was really nothing that unified us other than at the boundaries. It said, welcome to Madawaska Valley. You know, she made comments like our signs were too low in the ditch. You couldn't see Madawaska Valley, but you could see the big sign for County of Renfrew, but it was pretty much in front of our sign, kind of thing. So that's what they were bringing to the table, was a way for us to promote local, as well as promote our individual cultures within each of the hamlets, making us one Madawaska Valley. So that was something that was identified in the strat plan.
Councillor Poplinsky.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. I just think that would be a tremendous waste of money. If we can't figure out what we need here, give us the $10,000. And I can tell you there's a lot of places I'd suggest we put some of it. Maybe we can come up with some more brochures on fishing and lodging and stuff in the community and put them in the train station. And also there's a kiosk in Combermere that's got information that's been there for 4 or 5 years, and it's promoting people outside the area. So all I'm saying is we can do with that $10,000. I can think of a lot of things we can do. I don't think we need to bring somebody in from outside to tell us that our signs are too low in the ditch.
If I may, Councillor Poplinsky, putting the $10,000 aside is not saying I'm hiring somebody. I'm giving an example of what we require and what we had identified in our strat plan. Certainly there can be those discussions, but what they do is they offer suggestions so that you're template ready when you have to do your advertising. So I suggest that if we recognize that, yes, it's important to promote our individual culture as well as bring together, you know, we are all Madawaska Valley, that we should identify what we're asking for. The budget is to identify that $10,000, whether it be, yes, we agree as a council that, you know, it's more brochures that we need, or we actually need some, you know, some different templates or some different signage that brings that together. So I'm not saying by putting 10,000 that's for a marketing. We're giving you an example as to what we think is required.
Okay, so is it to do some actual work then, rather than to hire someone to create a plan?
Yeah, like
Am I missing something?
Well, yes, like do we require, you know, how do we promote each other? Or how do we promote ourselves? So we need to bring something forward to council, or we can, you know, just leave well enough alone. But I think sometimes that outside view is required as well. But I don't want council to close their minds to, you know, us promoting who we are, instead of promoting what we're not.
Okay, Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree that having the $10,000, it was what we identified in the strategic plan, is important, and we should be doing more promoting the differences in here. I think if it went towards coming up with a plan, we'd end up spending the whole $10,000, if not more. I can't see a plan being presented to us for that amount anyway, and it seems far too low to have somebody go out and develop a plan for us for that. But I certainly think that there's a need for us to promote what we have, and we need to find a way to do it better. So I'm hoping the $10,000 in there will help somehow breach that gap.
Okay, I'm wondering if this is something, if council's not looking for an actual plan document, then maybe this is something that we could set up a working group to work on, to come up with some ideas of how to take $10,000 and promote our community. And you know, I think we have some creative minds to be able to pull together some things we could do with that money that would actually be promotional and be a way of marketing our community, rather than having someone else come in from outside, which I know that's not what you're suggesting, Sue, but I'm looking for a way to
That's exactly what she's suggesting.
no, I don't think it is. I think we're looking for a way to do that without necessarily hiring a consultant from away. So I'm wondering if it could be, if we could leave that in the budget and literally form a working group with a couple of members of council and a few members of staff to sit down and put your heads together to see how we could best spend it to promote the various neighborhoods in our community and the uniqueness, certainly the cultural uniqueness that we have here that we aren't taking advantage of. I don't know. I know Councillor Schulis, you are very much into the cultural components of our community. I'm wondering if you think that's something that I'm just going to throw it at you. We could do this in-house through a working group, possibly.
Yeah, yeah, to you, Madam Mayor.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely rich in our culture here and that, and we're not probably promoting it as much as we can, but we do have some groups now, even like let's say the station keepers. I mean, you know, maybe the heritage societies or the museums and so on. Maybe they could give us some ideas. But I think we can do this within, right? So yeah, maybe we're missing on an opportunity to promote ourselves out there. We know our community best, so yeah, I think there are people within our community that could come up some good ideas. You know what we should be promoting. Let's put that $10,000 aside, and let's put it into good economics development for sure, right? So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I don't usually do
Oh,
that,
no,
but
no.
I'm thinking that if we could form a working group, Sue, and like between staff and a couple of members of council, they could have discussions with various groups in our community, and I think we could come up with a plan for a way to start to pull things together and give it a unified look and actually get a lot of bang for that $10,000. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bromwich, I see your hand up.
It's frozen.
No, I apologize.
Starting to atrophy here. Thank you, through you, Chair. We're not starting something new here. We've been doing this for many, many years now. By allowing staff to know that there's $10,000 available in case an idea comes to them, or they get approached by somebody like a stranger in town suggesting they do something, it allows them to initiate a good plan. We had several filming companies actually come through our town over the last few years.
Sorry, Councillor Poplinski, you're coming through loud and clear on your mic. So I don't know.
I never said a word.
Well, I can hear you very clearly, so I'm just going to suggest that you mute, because even if you're,
I never said a word, but
Okay.
I can hardly wait though. Councillor Bromwich's response: an unknown person is
Okay.
going to come in and tell us what to do at the 10,000. I think it's time we took lunch.
I think maybe you let me finish what I was going to say.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
No, I can
Just-
hardly wait.
Okay, both of you, please.
Fuck off.
Excuse me, but everything you say can be heard with a mic by your mouth that close. So I'm going to caution you that you need to be very mindful of that. Councillor Bromwich, please finish what you were saying.
Thank you very much. Just for some examples, we had a filming group come through our town and film the Taste of the Valley. And then through discussions with them, they said, listen, we have a one of these cameras can fly around, take picture of your town. So they did a little short film on our local township. And then it went on Facebook, it went on YouTube, and it promoted our valley. It only cost us I think about $1,000. So it's just those kind of ideas that come up. Stephanie will probably come up with a lot of ideas that we can do ourselves in here, but just allowing her to know that there's some money available when it's needed is a plus. And it's through our strategic plan, like has been mentioned before. I don't know of any other town that doesn't have an economic development budget. And I don't think there's a big deal here if we put $10,000 aside. If we don't spend it, fine. But I'm not asking somebody to come in here and spend it for us. We have to do it ourselves. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So would council concur that setting up a working group to work, a couple of members of council, some members of staff, and that working group could consult with volunteer groups in our community, and look for ways to pull together marketing and communications that are going to work for us internally? Would council concur that that would be something that we could leave this $10,000 in the budget, but that would be the direction in terms of how to spend it? Am I getting any? So I got a thumbs up from Councillor Bromwich, yes from Councillor Wilmer and Councillor Schulist. And so with that, Sue, is that okay as a direction that this would be an internal working group?
Yes, absolutely. So noted. We'll make that
Okay.
recommendation.
Perhaps we could just take the word plan off it then. I don't know. I think the word plan is giving a sense that we're going to hire someone to do a plan. I don't know how you want to change it.
Okay, thank you.
Just maybe leave it at marketing and communications and leave the 10,000 in there, and note to the public that that's going to be council's approach to that process. Okay, I'm not seeing any opposition to that. So with that, I'm just going to finish up economic development if we could, and then we'll take lunch. Is there any other questions on the economic development budget? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Then I tell you what, we'll basically call that where we're going to stop for the moment. Could I get someone move that we take a lunch break until 1:30? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Are you seconding that? Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll break for lunch. We'll be back at 1:30. Thank you, everyone. I'll have Gwen